the point between where you are and where you need to get to, like success and sustainability, that is cringe. So I'm very much in my cringe era. Hey, Derek here from Civic Punks, and I'm trying to continue a tradition of doing failure reports. I did a failure report at the end of Leg 1 about sort of mistakes I made and the lessons I'm learning, and now I've finished Leg 2. It's been about a month to sort of collect my thoughts and reflect on everything I've learned from Leg 2. And I mean, I'm a big fan of failure reports. It's a great way to learn. It's a chance for me to sort of reflect and try to continue improving what I'm doing at Civic Punks. And the idea of doing it out loud is to hopefully have other people learn from my mistakes as well. And there's been a bunch. Yeah, so that's the idea of this failure report. So let's dive in. I think a good place to start is to go back to the original failure report and see if the lessons I've learned, if I've been able to apply them. So the first lesson from the first failure report was this idea of AI voice. And the mistake I made is I'm trying to figure out how to use AI, and I use AI for all sorts of different things. But I found that some of my newsletters I felt didn't sound like my voice. I felt like my voice was lost in the process. So AI sounding didn't feel good. And so I switched my strategy, and what I do now is I do a first draft myself, and I throw into ChatGPT for feedback, refinement, and then I go through and read it again and make sure that it's still in my voice moving forward. So yes, that is, the newsletters you get are in my voice. Yes, I am that weird in how I write and how I think. But there's actually a broader debate that's happening right now within the content creator world around the role of how content creators use AI, which is really fascinating. At the core of it is this idea of authenticity. People want to make sure that they follow content creators because of the authenticity of who they are, and that really use AI sure to expand what you do, but never lose your voice. So this is probably a much broader conversation, and I think one of the things I'm going to do moving forward is create an AI policy for Civic Punks to really talk about how Civic Punks is using AI, how Civic Punks is thinking about AI. It's going to have to be a living document because the AI space is just moving so fast right now. But yeah, so that's I think some progress has been made on that. But there's still a lot in flux. It's terrible audio. My videos, I made some silly mistakes that I shouldn't have made in terms of the audio quality. Have I gotten better? Sorta. I'm still making silly mistakes. It's just attention to detail stuff. So, for example, I had a chance to interview a woman named Petra with Estonia, and halfway through the interview, I realized that she wasn't wearing a mic. I'd forgotten to give her a mic. So yeah, that was great. And then also I had my interview with Katarina from the Kiev Global Government Technology Center, and I was so excited to interview her that I didn't frame the camera properly. And as a result, you have her perfectly centered, which is great, but then you just have my nose, and every once in a while my arms will flail into the scene. And so as a result of that, honestly, the video is probably useless until it just end up being a podcast. So apologies, Katarina, that's my mistake. So really it comes down to attention to detail. I'm getting better at the editing side of things, but I need to take more time to pause and make sure I'm set up properly with regards to the actual recording piece. And I think the bigger honest play here is that down the road I need to hopefully get Civic Punks to a place where I have enough resources to bring someone in who actually knows what they're doing, and that will ensure consistent quality that honestly you guys all deserve. 3 was logistics. Just leaving too many things to the last minute was leading to a lot of stress and close calls. Almost getting stuck at the airport because I didn't fill out the proper paperwork. In Australia, for example, this one I am getting better. I mean, the key thing here is just being more planning further in advance. I think I'm doing a better job of that. The challenge I ran into a bit with Leg 2 is I became dependent on waiting to hear back from other people who were less speedy with their responses than what I needed. And so becoming more confident, to planning ahead further in advance, but then also becoming more confident to just move ahead even if I don't hear from other people, even if it's not exactly the results I want. But I think I am getting much better. I'm already starting to plan for South America, which is in November, so several months in advance. So I think I'm doing pretty good there. Pat on the back for that one. And the final one was sort of this idea of losing the plot, that when you are in the middle of building something you're really excited about, sometimes you become so fixated on what you're doing that you forget why you're doing it. The heart of Civic Punks is really about curiosity and about hearing the stories of the punks. It's not about me. It's not about my story and how cool Civic Punks is. It's about the story of the punks themselves, and that's what I need to stay focused on, just being really curious. I think I'm now at a bit of a transition point where Leg 1 and Leg 2 was really about exploration. Leg 3, I need to be a bit more focused. So yes, still be curious, but have a bit more focus to that curiosity. I think is going to be a key theme for Leg 3. So that's lessons from the first failure report. Now let's dig into some new stuff. All right, where have I really turfed it on Leg 2? I mean, I think one of the biggest ones has been really not keeping up with content output, which is kind of a big deal when your focus is content. You know, one of the key things of Civic Punks is I'm pushing out, you know, these videos, these podcasts. And for 2 months, I just went silent. Now, that is poor planning on my part. What happened was, I mean, the irony is I was collecting tons of content, but what I realized is I did not have the capacity when I'm on the road to produce and push out the content. Thankfully, this is an easy solve. I think a lot of it has to do with just building a good content pipeline that is like a month ahead. So before I go on a trip, already all my videos that are going to be released while I'm on the trip are already edited, they're lined up, they're ready to go. Because the simple reality is I've discovered I do not have the capacity, the bandwidth to do this type of stuff while I'm on the road. Again, in the future, when I have maybe a team helping me, that could be a different story. But for right now, the key lesson is I do not have the capacity to push out content effectively, aside from Instagram, which is just like the behind the scenes stuff that I can just do in a moment. But the videos and the podcast just stopped for 2 months. And even the newsletters were like, I was consistently like a week behind on my newsletters, which is really frustrating. So the key lesson here is build a solid content pipeline and really have it a month in advance. So if if things come up, I mean, this is just good practice in general. So this is again something I'll be in place moving forward. The final one is a bit of a hard one to be honest about, I wrote a blog post in the spring called Project Get Out of My Parents' Basement, which is really about the business model for Civic Punks and laying out sort of how I'm thinking about making Civic Punks sustainable. And I've made some progress on it, but not enough. And I'm now at the point where my savings have run out, so now anything moving forward is dipping into the red in terms of the money I'd set aside for this project. Also, I've sort of set the horizon of like, right now I'm staying at my parents' place, which I love my parents and they've been amazing, but this is not the long-term plan, and I've set the goal of getting Civic Punks to a place where it could sustain me by the end of this year, so I can move out of my parents' place by the end of this year. That is now within eyeshot. Like, it's 4 months, August, September, October, November, December, 5 months away. And I need to make sure that I feel confident about that. So I really need to double down on figuring out the business side of things. And part of that is also saying no to stuff that I'm doing for free. I think a lot of people who are doing stuff they're passionate about and they care a lot about and they're mission driven, it's really easy to just be like, oh, that's cool, I'll just do it. And there's so much we do for free that probably should be charging money for. Saying no to stuff, be like, I know that you can't pay me, I just don't have the capacity to do this right now for free. I need to focus on stuff that like brings in revenue. The other thing is really about finding ways to make it easy for people to support this project. There's lots of you who have been incredibly kind and want to support. I need to make it easier for you to support that. So one of my big focuses over the next week or two is really launching a supporter community for Civic Punks that gives people pathways to support and really help shape this in a more meaningful way, but also sort of really building packages around workshops that I can do as I travel, sponsorship packages, and then doing the legwork. There's a meme that I came across that I really love, which is like the point between where you are and where you need to get to, like success and sustainability, that is cringe. So I'm very much in my cringe era, which means that I'm going to have to get better at sales, get better at building the pipeline to make this sustainable, because I really care about Civic Punks. I know there's something important here that is being done, and really cool stuff as well that has value. It's just getting good at the business side of things, which I'm so bad at. So that's really my commitment over the next couple months, is to really focus in on the business side of things, because I've failed so far to make this sustainable and the clocks are ticking on that. So this is something I need to work on. So that's my commitment. Other than that, I think those are the big things. Probably a good place to sort of wrap up this failure report. And other than that, the content is now flowing. So I'm releasing all the interviews I did on the road. I started last week with Victoria's interview, CIO of the city of Kyiv. Also, just could be an action movie, her first 6 months of the invasion and what she did as the CIO of the city of Kyiv. Really fascinating, so check that out if you haven't already. And I'm currently working on the interview from my friend Dennis, who also works at the city of Kyiv, sharing his insights and experiences. So that's going to be rolled out probably tomorrow? No. Yes, tomorrow. Not probably. Yes, tomorrow. So definitely check that out. And other than that, if you've got ideas of fun stuff I can do with Civic Punks, please reach out anytime. And thank you. Hopefully this is helpful. And I'm thinking I should probably record this inside because it is too windy out here.